What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today, I'm going to be bringing you a two-game set between HitEmUp and Art of Turtle. This is not a tournament matchup, but it could be. It very likely will be at some point in the gauntlet, or perhaps in the main event, as Art of Turtle has been grinding Cosmonarchy, and HitEmUp is the reigning champion of the Tyrant's Tale. So will Art of Turtle be able to show us some promise versus the Tyrant in a set he is not favored to win? Well, we got to start off on Spinaltap to find out the answer. We've got Art of Turtle in the bottom left here as the red Zerg, or is this red? Is this really red? I'm gonna say red. It was red. You know, I know that might sound... Okay, first of all, Cosmonarchy has over 100 player colors, so even though this looks like red, it could have been maroon, it could have been vivid red, it could have been vermilion, it could have been scarlet, it could have been crimson, it could have been blood. But it wasn't, it was red. Fit for an autopsy. That's, of course, one of the many metal albums slash bands that Mr. HitEmUp is a favor of, a friend of. He is the Protoss in the top right, and I'm gonna guess he is Alice Blue. So good at this game. Not good at the playing part of it, but very good at the color guessing part of it. We have Cosmonarchy, the most ambitious project ever made within StarCraft 1, basically taking the engine of StarCraft 1 as low grade as it actually is, and turning it into something much different, much, I would say, better, much more interesting, much with much more potential. You know, this is the real future of the RTS, not Stormgate or Fraudgate, not Zero Space, Fraud Space, but no, it's the No Frauds Club. It's Cosmonarchy. And I held my hands together up like I was doing a political rally with a certain amount of orange skin tone. Anyway, we do have the Quasith Pool coming up here for Art of Turtle. He's also got his Larvosk on the way. And like I said, he's been grinding. He's been practicing a lot of these matchups. And I think the main thing that he's interested in, or maybe having struggles with so far, has actually been related to the... figuring out what the enemy player, the other races, the Protoss and the Terrans of the world, will do with their mid-game tech. Whereas Art of Turtle himself has been getting better at selecting his own tech, figuring out what to do about what the other team is going to do, what the other players are going to do. That is his sort of current issue of the day that he's trying to deal with. He did do a small amount of damage to the Scribe, and, you know, it's not really a problem to... slap this together and say, like, oh, I'm going to attack the Larvosk, right? Because it does have a very low amount of HP, right? But it does make you worried. Like, when you scout out over here and you see, okay, the Draconid's coming, it doesn't look like the Art of Turtle saw the Rogue Gallery being made, so that's a little bit worrisome for him. He didn't stick around long enough to see what that secondary structure was. You know, the Zets are going to come out. You do have to micro them versus the Scribe, of course. Like, this it doesn't just automatically happen, so you are going to have to kind of surround it or go after these, like, sort of moving shots here, as you can see what Art of Turtle was starting to do there. And he should be able to get it. He should definitely be able to get it. Hey, one more hit. 2 more hits. 3 more hits because of the shields. There you go. And now you can start heckling the Draconid. This is something that is a little bit easier to hit because it's a bit chonkier. Obviously, moves a bit differently because it's actually trying to stop and shoot you instead of just moving away. Oh, I saw this amazing thing when I was watching Geralstorm versus Aeud, and there were Phalanxes in the middle of Muspelheim, and Geralstorm was just, like, right-clicking them with a Gorger Core, and he would just watch as the Gorger Core, like, tried to lead the Phalanx, but never quite finished it. So I thought that was very funny. That's something that hopefully we can fix sometime soon. 2 bruised Zethra Cores are going to make it into the base for a full scout, see the Rogue Gallery, and start to burrow. I'm not sure that HitEmUp saw exactly where that burrow was, but he should be able to patrol the area. Ooh, got him. Did a little flex on him and everything. Bunch of Quas are out here. That's 10 of them. They might be able to get to the middle of the map in time to actually hold that little spoke, courtesy of the Zeth run by. Matrix on the way as well. We can tell that you're setting up for an expansion here if you are HitEmUp, but does he want it right now? The first Kabbalist is out. The Matrix is finished, so that's going to provide a little bit of, you know, run by insurance. And I do love the position in the middle of the map. Not sure about the burrow part, but he's going to go ahead and allow his opponent to get in and maybe do some heckling. He focuses down. You know, okay, not bad focus fire there. Obviously, Draconids have 2 armor. It's really hard for the Quasilisk to breach the armor of the Draconid. You need some Vorvs to reduce that armor. You need some Zeths just to deal out the DPS and force the Draconids to move away. And it looks like, yeah, at this point, the run-by has occurred. The sort of weave has occurred. And I think Art of Turtle might have an inkling about that. And he's actually moving around as a bit of a flanking maneuver. And now he's caught by those Draconids who are going to get a lot of free kills over here. And, you know, maybe if AOT is, you know, persistent enough, he can actually tell these Draconids to buzz off towards the north. But remember, behind this, we've had 2 Kabbalists being made. They will reveal themselves when they attack, but getting in and, you know, jumping on top of threats, I mean, they 2-hit workers. They will 2-hit the Quasilisks as well. One-shot Zethra Cores if they come in. You can see AOT trying to body block these. He recognizes that shimmer. He knows what's going on there. So as long as he keeps Quas in the right spot, by his mineral line, he should actually be able to do something over here. You can see, as soon as the jump up happens, he gets a pull away. But he's got to watch out, right? The Dracodons can't bust his front, so he shouldn't be too worried about that. Instead, he's got to kind of have to, like, melee range, like, walk into the Cabalists. And HitEmUp's fine with the micro, fine with the APM. He can go ahead and keep moving those units around. Also, a very juicy target of the Larvosks. Now the Ovileth comes out here. Nice spot over here with a couple extra Quasis to help confirm that those units are indeed going to be absolutely bopped. Transferring some of those workers back over to the main. So not great worker damage dealt, but did do some confusion. The question is, will the Rogue Gallery actually scale up? And what are we going to see out of the Grand Library as that finishes? Low worker count on the natural for now. We do have a bit of a back and forth so far. I'm not sure that it was intended to load up the Ovileth here, because now he's unloading it. I was thinking maybe you want to scoop those units up real fast, and in the chaos, you're not sure if you saw/heard the wind up or not. I can't believe I'm seeing this, but HitEmUp is making a macro nexus. Interesting choice. I mean, I feel like he could probably take this opportunity to just expand. Obviously worried about a potential drop, worried about the potential for Zeths to come or anything else that the Zerg can make. Is that really going to happen, though? And so he's pivoted entirely away from even using the Rogue Gallery. Looks like it was just a sort of Gambit tech. And you can see he's just pacing, just back and forth. Still no Zeths. Obviously 11 pairs of them being made as we speak. And the Zorkish Shroud also in production. It's going to be a mass Atreus, it looks like. He has made a Charlatan, which will deal some good splash damage. Also dealt with the potential mineral float by going for the Vagrant. Not a bad choice either. We'd love to see some Amaranths, actually, but we'll see. These 3 Dracodons have been holding down the fort a lot. HitEmUp, he's gotten a lot of value out of them, but 2 out of 3 are just going to get completely annihilated now that the Zethicors are in the field. And we're going to have to see what HitEmUp can do. I do think he could have actually lost that 3rd one, and then he would have been completely in the dark as to whether or not the Zerg army was actually moving across. Like, imagine if that ends up happening, and then all of a sudden, you don't know, do I have to scramble for defense? There's a certain, you know, conciliatory attitude you can have, a certain calmness you can have to knowing, okay, my opponent is indeed moving across the map. I can prepare for that. But if you don't know if they're doing that or if they're taking expansion or what, then yeah, that's definitely going to cause some issues there. The Quasilus getting caught out. I don't like this position too much here for Art of Turtle. He does end up loading a bunch of Zets into the Ovileth, and an excellent Psionic Storm is going to curse some of those units to death. And there you go. He's actually got a Burrowed Zeth over here as well. Okay, so now the run-by can occur. Obviously, I think this should be visible on the minimap for HitEmUp, but it might not be. And let's see what he's going to end up doing. I would love to go after that Crucible, actually, a very juicy target. Instead, he goes after the Pylon, and we do indeed have some Zorius coming out here in the meantime. Trying to sort of heckle those units. Rest of everything has come on back. That actually does depower a lot of production. All of his production. A couple gateways in here. This Grand Library is still unpowered. Hopefully that doesn't hit him up in the rear end later. He's invested a lot into the Nexus and extra workers that isn't actually turning him a profit right now, right? Because after 14 workers, each worker counts for like 1/4 of a worker when it comes to those main base and natural bases. And you can see Art of Turtle actually going to try to commit to an attack. He's got so many units coming in. Needs to go after that Cantavis as the Psionic Storm is absolutely wreaking havoc on the Zorius. Remember, they spawn those brood spawn, but if they're just going to get killed by Storm, it's not very useful. The Matrix does end up going down. The Cantavis coming way too close to the front of the fight. That's going to fall as well. Quasilisk's going to be able to maybe move a little bit further forward. We are going to see an Atreus fall. It's very rare to see Quasilisks be taking down units with such high armor values at HP. But despite all of that, the Charlatan in the back has been adding a lot of damage, not being focused down as of right now. Vagrants, Atreuses, trying to hold the battle. We have more Quasilisks, more pool units streaming on in. If only there was like, you know, I don't know, two or three more rotations here of Zethicors. I want to say like 2 or 3 more larva worth of Zethicors would have actually been a great addition. And that is a very tight hold, but it does look like HitEmUp is going to be able to withstand it. Now, what do you do if you're Art of Turtle? You don't have any units coming out. You've just finished your tier 2, admittedly, on 2 bases, but you need an extra base. You need to get up to 3 bases. Ovileth going to come out here and see, okay, you've got that Crucible empowered static defense. They're going to shoot faster. You're making Ardent Authorities, at least 2 of them. I'm not sure he clicked on those structures to see. Does that mean it's going to be a Cantor, or does that mean it's going to be Architect? I actually wonder. I guess with this many, it's going to be Architect. He's just going to make a lot of Architects. And still, not interested in the 3rd base just yet here. HitEmUp just going to continue on with his strategy. I was looking around to see if he capped his gas, but he did not. Okay. I guess he probably wants to wait for the third base. I guess you could try to go 12, but I feel like that versus Zerg, that's not very good. You want to go here, which by the way, an update to this map did shrink the choke into this base a little bit. You want to go either to the 3-9 position or you want to go to the mineral only. I think in this matchup, I don't think you want to go to the 12 until later, like after you have some assuredness that you've secured your hemisphere. It might actually be better to split the map horizontal, like vertically, I guess, like the whole left half and the whole right half, like hemisphere like that. That seems to make a lot more sense. Now, we do have some Tier 2 static defenses. I was talking about that in a cast over between Jujic and Cannoli. How Tier 2 static defense can definitely help you hold a lot more. I didn't see... It doesn't look like any workers made it anywhere. I don't know if maybe the Amaranth... No, that Amaranth didn't get any kills. I wonder what's up with that. That's interesting. Neither player really interested in expanding. They want to get their army up, but these Ardent Authorities have finished, but have they made anything? It doesn't look like it yet. Okay, one of them was making an Architect, I suppose. Okay. 12 o'clock, going to be patrolled by the Zethrakor, and Amaranth moving around. And you can see the Ovolith going to spot a potential 3 o'clock position. A lot of Kagralisks were made. I do believe in the Kagralisk, but it does prefer to have some kind of front line, especially if you're up against, like, this is one of the rare cases where Architects are actually useful versus Zerg, I think, is when they're building less units, you know, more individually significant units, as opposed to the swarming variety, right? So if this was a bunch of Protathalors, then actually I think you'd have more of them, and they'd be better off against the Architect. Whereas like the Kagralisk specifically is that weird middle ground, where what you're looking at is like, I don't even know what you would describe it as. It's like a mid-range, it's like a souped-up Hydralisk in some ways. Very good versus armor, but does need some kind of front line. And we don't really have that much here. We've got the 4 Zorius. We got a bunch of Ovolets. I guess it might be intended to jump into like a drop or something. I don't know about dropping them, though. We'll have to see. HitEmUp is not in a position to actually answer this threat. He is going to have to cancel the plans at taking the 3 o'clock. Just did not set it up fast enough. Been making all of these units off of the 2 bases, and he does have a lot of production. He did end up repowering this Grand Library at some point, so that's good. More Wardens, just extra defense for drops. He saw all the Ovolets, I'm sure. Or maybe he didn't, actually. Did they even get there? But, you know, he knows that drops are in the cards. Art of Turtle does play like that. He's pretty light on workers in his natural, actually. Could definitely have more workers there. Like, I've kind of criticized HitEmUp for building too many workers, or at least pointed out that it's not as much of a value. Like, 32, yeah. So after... So it's 21 workers. At that point, it is completely pointless to add more workers, except for the fact that, of course, you can transfer them to another base. You can see, though, HitEmUp is taking a very long time to actually build another base. So we're not 100% sure about that one. You know, it's a question of would he be able to hold it. I think he would have been able to. And again, Zorius and Kagralisk together, Architects can help deal with that. Like, they are more about dealing with higher HP units. They do have overkill on smaller units, right? And so that, I think, is actually a pretty big deal. Because we're talking about all these Kagralisks, and they are just getting eaten up on the retreats. That's another thing, is that the Kagralisk is not very mobile. Now, we did have a run-by with Lakizalisks and Zethrakors. It does kill a lot of workers, but again, like, he had so over... Okay, maybe this is the other realm in which building a lot of workers is useful if your enemy kills a bunch of them. Realistically speaking, he's back at, like, base saturation level, and he did just deny the worker, like, pullout, right? Like, this base is about to be depleted. Oh my god, it has almost 40 workers on minerals. Meanwhile, the lake is getting caught over here. Not ideal. You really wanted to save those so you could burrow and hold the bridge. Now holding the bridge is no longer a possibility for Art of Turtle. That was actually... It was a bit more consequential than it might have looked, believe it or not. Doesn't have any more coming, making just pure Kagralisk off of just 2 bases. He does have the gas caps, but again, very light on the minerals over here. And still gas contained anyway, making the Metraval Nest. Would love to see some Vilgoricors, actually, or maybe even Convolus to try to split up the Architects from attacking the back line. That would have been a great opportunity there. But you can see the Kagralisk on the ramp doing great damage to the front line. It's just that these Architects haven't been cleaned up. They haven't even really been targeted. A lot of the Atreus is getting taken out. There are a couple of them inside these... inside the Ovolets here. And now there's no more cliff advantage. In fact, it's going to go over to HitEmUp here. He doesn't have really any easy way to, like, pressure the units. And he's focusing down the Atreuses instead of the Architects, which he could have probably killed 2 or 3 Architects, or at least forced them to move away with the same amount of focus fire in the later stages of that fight. So definitely, I feel like mispriority on the targeting. The Atreuses are good for, like, steady damage on single target. The Architects are what are dealing with the mid-scale armies so nicely. This is the reason why they're really good versus mech. You get a decent number of units, but not a crazy number of units, right? And you also punish any fall away. Like you're trying to basically force the enemy to commit into you. That's what architects are best at. Because if they fall away, then you're going to be being able to bounce against them more, especially if you have witness coverage to reveal more of the units. Like there's a lot more going on there than otherwise. Meanwhile, the Atreus obviously, I guess that they're serving as valid decoys for now. We still don't have the Protathalor. It does. Oh yeah, you know what? I remember Art of Turtle talking about how he didn't make Protathalors, and I guess this is what he means, right? Like he didn't really end up doing that. Now he's going to stop a fourth base from being set up, but the mineral only has been set up and saturated in the whole time while we're doing this. The Protoss army is moving back in, and this is just Kagralisk Zeth. You know, the Static Defense is going to clean up some of the front line that would be coming over here. That's a little bit sloppy by HitEmUp. He's going to just step on this one Lakizalisk that has been causing him a little bit of pain. Didn't really get too much damage dealt. And now coming over his own bridge, might end up getting absolutely slapped down as a result of that. Trying to lay siege to the Static Defense. Remember, the Static Defense is able to reach some of these units, like the Servitors, the Dracodons, the Atriuses. It's just the Kagralisks now that have to deal with the Architects. So what are we going to see out of this fight? I still feel like you should be moving closer in so that you're denying the number of bounces and missile splits. I can't believe it, but HitEmUp's actually going to stay alive there, and I think it's entirely because Art of Turtle did not move his Kagralisks in to not just body block, but also deny the splits. The Architect fires a missile that splits based on how much range it travels. So very similar to the Zerg Bactylisk bouncing more when it fires a projectile that travels for longer. That's sort of like what happens with the Architect, except its damage is not reduced. So you're getting a significant damage multiplication based on the way that Architects work that way. So if you can go in real close with anything and force them to target those units instead, you can see there was no splits there because like very, very little in terms of actual travel happened. And now sure, you've got the Carapace Swarm. It has been buffed as well, so it does a little bit more protection for the Vilgoricors. But where's the damage out? You lost all your Kagralisks, so you actually have no damage. You can't really hold them there. And now there's even a Cantors for straight up splash to deal with things like, you know, the mass the Zeth pivot or whatever, and then force your army to move away. Architect to Cantor has really good synergy because you want to get up close and personal to the Architects. Cantors punish you for getting up close and personal because you have less time to react to the projectile for the Cantor, and you will get splashed to death as well. So the third base is going to get absolutely stepped on. It does look like HitEmUp is going to be able to take this game. It was interesting. There's a lot of back and forth. I'm liking the fact that, you know, he does have a 12 o'clock, obviously. It's off center, but who cares? He's going to set up top left as well, just to continue to get ahead. And Art of Turtle is eventually going to have the penny drop that he's not really going to be able to clear this force out. Depletion has hit his main base. Not exactly as natural. He did end up saturating that some more later. But, you know, we're talking about a factor of, like, almost 3x the workers here for HitEmUp. And, obviously, he's got 4 bases to 2. He's setting up a 5th. So it's not looking too hot for our Zerg player. I believe our next game is actually going to be ZVT. So that'll be an interesting setup here for see how Art of Turtle does versus Terran instead. So far, I would say Architects are an interesting choice. I don't know that they were the best choice versus specifically like General Zerg. I will say, though, that versus that composition, if you scout the Alkag Eteth, which is what enables Vigralisks, Almaxalisks, and, of course, the Kagralisk that we saw there, that sort of like really tall, lanky Zerg unit that I said was like the souped-up Hydralisk. That's the kind of unit that when you see that in action, and you see that structure really, and it wasn't really scouted, but you see evidence of that structure, and you see that they're going for that. I mean, it just happened that he was already going Architect, but that's something that is a genuine response Protoss can field, because that is the perfect sort of mid-table, like, you want enough of these units to serve as your core army, but you're not going to be swarming them because they're too expensive for that, especially on only 2 bases. And so that's where the Architects can definitely be useful. But again, I will reiterate, I think there was micro moves that could have been done to reduce the power of the Architect. Let's see what Art of Turtle has in game number 2. In our second game, we will have Art of Turtle in the top right, and I'm going to guess, is this, this is either Vivid Red, Scarlet, or Vermilion, and I'm going to guess Vivid Red. Oh, it was Vermilion. God damn it. Well, I told you guys I was guessing, is it red? Is it not? Is it red? Well, now you know why, because it could have been like 3 other colors. When you see the discolored name here, it's, I think, specifically a Vivid Red, but I guess Vermilion also does that. Meanwhile, we do have HitEmUp in the bottom right. Is this, it's not, I don't think it's Tyrian purple because it's a little bit too dark for that. I almost want to see like more units to see. But yeah, I'm going to guess based on that, what would it be? Do we have a Palatinate purple? Palatinate purple? Oh, it's Cordovan. Yeah, I never would have guessed Cordovan. I fully admit I would never have guessed that. I know we have Palatinate Blue, and it's a nice bright blue color. Well, like deep blue, I guess. Anyway, either way, cool colors. We love them. Never would have guessed Cordovan. Definitely not. Art of Turtle in the top right is going to go for his patented Kagrant into Pool into eventual Larvosk. He's been harvesting Vespene, and he pulls off immediately after, so he can immediately get that fastest optimization there. I do like that little build order trick. I'm not sure how many build orders we'll actually see out of Zerg versus some of these matchups. I do think Pool has received a great buff and boon when you go for the Pool into any sort of amount of production. And yes, of course, the classic. We do have a Cyprian start for our HitEmUp. I'm curious about that one. There was a game, I guess, that was not submitted because it was more one-sided. HitEmUp with the deep cuts. And yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting. I mean, these guys know each other from the foreign and specifically North American scene and have played with each other and been around with each other for a very long time in StarCraft 1. So to see them sort of reunite in a way versus each other in Cosmonarchy, that's very exciting and interesting. They were part of the same clan for a brief period of time, and then HitEmUp decided, screw it, I'm not going to stay in clan. Oops, I'm joining the Anti-Shambler Society, also known as Clan Ass. We got our own clans. We can do clan wars later. It'll be great. It'll be great, guys. The future of Cosmonarchy is silly, but also epic. Starpad coming out here, so I guess it's going to be a Cyprian drop. Very risky, I would feel like. We'll see if Art of Turtle could do something about that. This could be a very quick game, as the Quasi's already moving. And, you know, if you take all of your Cyprians with the first Trojan, he's going to make the anchor. Maybe this is going to be a delayed drop, but I wouldn't think so. I mean, this is optimized for timing. So it's just like so risky, right? To literally take your first 4 units and then just hope that you can hold with 1 Maverick inside the anchor. Like, I don't know about that one. The Quas might just walk up. Oh, if they show themselves too soon, though, actually, this could be anti-timing for AOT, who's going to basically show that he's here as the Cyprians are going to get picked up. So he can just walk up here and the Cyprians can just pull back. Like, yeah, hold on, I need those. Going after the Maverick is a good move. He ends up clearing that. I would have loved to see him actually target the anchor from this position. I don't know if he would have killed it, but yeah, you get a couple of workers out of it. And he scouts that there's a drop coming. So this is actually really good. Nobody would just expect that you'd walk up with 6 Quas and then just walk up the ramp. Nobody expects that. So I don't know if it's Peruvian style or what, but it's pretty good. I believe that there was some discussion after a game like this or a series of games where Art of Turtle thought Peruvian was an insult, which is like Peruvian style is apparently just like when you super aggro with your military or what have you. And I get that, right? But I don't think HitEmUp means it as to be a pejorative. I think he's just being like, yeah, so you're going to be aggressive as hell. And I don't know how to deal with that, so let's see. So he ends up going for the Cyprian drop. It's going to get a little bit of damage onto the Quas. But there's nothing actually mining here for the hatch, right? And so you could see Art of Turtle just sort of slowly, you know, ramping himself up here. He's going to end up losing that egg, I think. Oh, am I hatched just in time? No, does end up getting cleared at the very last second there. And no cancel either. That's a pretty critical move. I mean, not really, because it's only 50 minerals down, but still. Yes, it is 50 minerals for 2 Quasi. It's 25 minerals for 2 Zeths. The world is your oyster, Zerg players. Now, we do have the Ministry almost done here. We do have the Covenant nearly complete as well. You can see the drop finding a little bit of spot there, and only 2 Cyprians left, so 2 of them have fallen. Quas reigning supreme for now. And look at this. He's actually going to have to scoop them up immediately, and look at every time he unloads, he loses 1 Cyprian. He's going to have to tuck tail because he won't have anything else to use later on. Hydroth then as the follow-up here with the saturation coming in for the Zerg player. Love to see him get more workers than this even. Many more stockades being thrown on down. We've got the Covenant. We've got a second Covenant. Okay, it's very heavy into like that Eidolon-based play, right? And so we are going to see that pop out here. I just love the soundscape of Terran now, of just all of the races, right? Like you hear the little organic sounds when you're panning over the Zerg bases when they're mutating. Obviously, you hear the warp in for Protoss. You hear the little construction tweaks and stuff for the Terran. And then when they finish, isn't that epic? Isn't that epic, guys? I still stand by the idea that we should have like a generic like unit has been trained sound for maybe for different sizes of units as well. Like when you've got the the infantry units pop out, like those would have a different sound effect than the units that pop out of like the fulcrum, right? The mech units, right? So stuff like that should probably be done at some point. But I don't know. I like those little sound effects. I think they add a lot. Trojan is empty. It did drop off its cargo at some point. The battle-hardened Cyprian with 29 HP. The cleric is ignoring him for now. So obviously fired immediately. Terminated. I was just reminded of some stand-up bit about Arnold Schwarzenegger and how when he was cheating on his wife, everybody who he cheated on was probably like, "Terminate me." Which is, you know... Stand-up comedy is often crass, and that one is not beating the allegations. Bitty B tile! Oh my god! You can yeah, that's a little ledge you can stand on, actually. I can't believe that's gone undiscovered for so long. I have to fix these ramps anyway, because they don't have the right repeating tile, but that's less Bitty B than the one I just saw. Speaking of, what are we going to see? I mean, Art of Turtle has been aggro as Zerg. Bitty B's very aggro as Zerg. You guys think Bitty B is going to be able to cheese his way? Anybody cheesing? Any cheesers in the chat? All right, so this Anseal's frontlining, not exactly the greatest of moves, but it does end up getting pulled back. Remember, the Shaman can repair it over time. The Cliff Advantage really going to help Art of Turtle in this position, but he doesn't have any detection for those Eidolons in the back. So as he focuses down all of the miscellaneous bio units here, yeah, he's going to end up ceding control of the ground game almost completely. Now, what is his reaction? 15 Hydras being produced. He doesn't have any Bactyls out. I think he was going to use those Hydras that he had out in the front there for that Bactylisk production. I'm not sure. He made the ski back, so I'm guessing that's what it's for. You could also... I mean, it's not really Art of Turtle style, but that's also a blind read that's being made here, I think. HitEmUp has 0 air defense. He has 0 air defense. He is not at all concerned with the idea that Skithrakors could come. And Art of Turtle is not really the kind of player that historically has made a lot of air units. That's Jarl. That's Cannoli on the lower levels. You know, that's the kind of shit that you would see out of maybe Hamster as well, right? Like, the Art of Turtle does not seem to be the air spammer. He's an honorable ground player. And he doesn't have any Bactylisk, so he might just get dishonorably discharged, and that's an Olympian passive. But we're a ways off of tier 2, so I don't think we'll be seeing that anytime soon. Hatch does end up finishing off to the right-hand side there. Meanwhile, we have another couple of Larvosks in the making. Still no Bactylisk. Still running off of just straight-up Hydra. And no Ovaleth for detection either. Like, I don't know. I think HitEmUp actually could have maybe gone for a fight soon around this point, but he's being a little bit cautious. He might not just know the situation here. And now, adding even more stockades, he's gunning it. Not interested in tier 2. No, I'd say no to tier 2. I'm going to add Ahmed training stations. And the reason why we can tell they're Ahmed training stations is because these two can't make an add-on without liftoff, so I'm assuming that's what they're for. It's just been a single stockade with a vestry, so that's kind of interesting. Pumping out occasional clerics. The ratio very, very strong in favor of the actual damage dealing. He's getting more units to rally across. His army actually isn't that big now, though. And I feel like maybe he's waited a little bit too long, because there's 27 and counting Hydras. Not in end production right now. Art of Turtle actually not producing right now. So everything he has here on our screen is all that he's going to have for the whole battle. Meanwhile, there are some reinforcements coming out. The Ovaleth comes out for detection. It might be a little bit too little too late at this point, though, because again, you see the sheer number of Hydralisk corpses on the ground. Sure, all the Anseals died, all the Mavericks died, all the Hurricanes died, but we still have 11 Eidolons. And where were the other units in production? Well, 14 Hydras are about to pop. That will be the point where, you know, the Remax is coming. HitEmUp is going to fall back. He can't end the game from this position, but I do think that if more units were going to arrive in the middle of that, we definitely would have seen a little bit of a different tenor to that fight, a different color. Third base now up and running here for HitEmUp as he transfers workers over in that direction. He does have a small worker advantage. I will expect him to be able to parlay that into more macro, but remember, he's gated himself onto tier 1. He refuses to move to tier 2, not interested in it. Moving up towards the lower section of the map, there is nothing here to defend. That Kagrant is not made, and all of the Zerg units are back in the natural, so this needs to be a quick scramble here for Art of Turtle if he wants to hold on to the third base. That could be a move that really does make it all she wrote for Art of Turtle. I mean, he's not responding to this just yet. It does feel like he's going to get meat grindered by all of the Eidolons. He's pressuring. He's setting up. Bactalisks now finishing up. Seems like a bit of an anti-timing here, and look at that. The Hatchrosk should just get focused down here, but it might be in that impossible choice where do you focus down the hatch or do you focus down the military? He sacrifices his front line to clear out the third base. We know that there is no other base coming here for the Zerg player. HitEmUp might be able to speculate that as well, and with no front line to speak of, it does look like the Bactalisks will narrowly be able to punish the Bioforce here, but it does look like, oh man, it's a pure Zeth follow-up. Is that actually going to be enough? We got plenty of Hurricanes. We will need to see those Bactalisks move out as well to punish as the third base gets reset up by Art of Turtle. I'm liking what I'm seeing here for the Zerg player, but he needs to get a good flank going or maybe just run straight into the natural. He's going to go ahead and reveal that some of the units are indeed in this position, but he doesn't have hardly any units. He's going to come up and flank the Eidolons. Great move from Art of Turtle here to clear out those very far back ranged units, but the Hurricanes are roasting the front line. It's a trade of front lines right now as more and more Zets are kind of moving all over the place. They did end up getting stymied away by a round of Mavericks. Emergency reinforcements conscripted to those front lines, and another ministry is going to go ahead and get put down here. So HitEmUp holds. Not enough Bactals survived that last fight, it looks like. And now, with less workers, with no third base for a very long time, I mean, he's got a lot of minerals in the bank, and he almost has enough gas to tech up, but I feel like Art of Turtle, he's just one or two more macro cycles out of all of these stockades before he is done so. And look at that. I mean, getting that fourth base in the wings here in a moment for HitEmUp, he's probably going to lift it and move it to the interior position here. And, you know, you see that. I mean, this is a lot of stockades pumping, various units. And he's just adding whatever he can. We got plenty of Bactals, but at this point, you might need that lake is, sure, the Zerg Shroud in production. I just don't think it's going to be fast enough, man. I think, you know, he's going to go ahead and move around and see what he can find over here. Catches nothing over in that position besides a BDB tile. And now he's obviously going to see, HitEmUp is going to see that there's nothing in the top left. A little bit of a light move out over here, but it's actually a bit fugazi as the rest of the army is moving out and has arrived in the natural. Bactalisks can flank. We have more units coming out here on the rally. A lot of Quas. Can definitely eat up a lot of the attention of the Hurricanes. I don't see an Ovolith for detection, but there's only a couple of Eidolons anyway, so it's not really the end of the world there. And look at that, actually held off at the natural. Too many units committing up there. Not expecting the Backs to be holding down the fort at the third base. More units coming on in here. A stim up the ramp kills so many of those workers that were transferring over to that fourth base. A lot of drawlets down the drain. Double the workers for HitEmUp. His military holding strong as well. He's going to go ahead and pull these units back over to the bottom left, clear out some more of that space. A random Bactalisk is indeed on the cards. And look at that, the fourth hatch does go down as well. Meanwhile, it's floating to the bottom left. That ministry that HitEmUp had made earlier, right after holding that attack on the third. Very back and forth so far. And he leaves one Maverick in the back there. If that doesn't get cleared, that's going to be even harder for Art of Turtle to actually expand there later on. Is one Zeth going to get bopped? Couple of Zets are going to reveal bottom left. And now look at this. He's hoping that maybe HitEmUp responds by attacking towards there with the rest of his defense force. But we can see here that that is not what's happened. He's just going to go ahead and pinch off a couple of units and clear that out the wise way. Art of Turtle has tried to do so much pressure, but sadly he is basically out of money. He's got 20 Zorius on the way, but I really don't think that's going to be the answer to his problems. Going to go ahead and clear out this force. He will lose a couple of Hydras in the process, but there you go. Cleans them up. Still has all these anti-drop Quas. I must commend him for doing that this whole time. Now here's the problem. The Backs are caught in the open. Hurricanes are going to descend upon them, and they're not kiting backwards. And there's not really anything else available for Art of Turtle to absorb this. So as Ahmed descends upon the right-hand side units, this hatch never even got remade. Looks like ran out of money as the order came in. And, you know, he's going to clear out a lot of those Eidolons. The Zorius are not going to come in and try to overwhelm. These forces are more or less going to... Oh, he kills it anyway. Well, these forces are going to be committed, but remember how many stockades HitEmUp had. Sure, depletion is about to hit him in the main base, but his natural's running, his third base has been running, he's thinking about securing that fifth base, and the Zorius are coming out here, but they're just getting torn asunder. All of the crowd control from the Savants and the Hurricanes burning the armor means that the Zorius cannot withstand that penetration. It is going to be a step too far, and we don't have any Bactalisks left. The army sacrificed off to the right-hand side to clear them. HitEmUp has finally admitted some kind of spiritual defeat, because he is building an Atlas in his third base. And now we've got another attack coming in, but where is the back line? The Bactalisks are not even done yet. The Zorius, the Zephyrcores, they're just getting incinerated. GG has to be called. Art of Turtle cannot continue the fight, and that was a banger of a game. You know what? This is the kind of shit I like. That's the kind of stuff I like to see. I know, yeah, HitEmUp didn't win. Sorry, Art of Turtle didn't win any of the games, but you gotta respect that, man. He's trying out a different style. He's trying to see if he can be aggro and make people respect the potential for Zerd to do something in the early game. And I think it's been beauteous. So I can't wait to see what happens as the meta continues to evolve, as Art of Turtle continues to play and get better, and as we get more and more people the caliber of HitEmUp interested in the project. So if you are interested, let me just remind you that signups are now open for Acropolis number 2's second Gauntlet, Gauntlet Stage B, and Gauntlet Stage A will be underway as of today. So I hope you guys are excited for Monday morning on this channel. We will be casting some of those initial matches that got played. Thank you to everybody who has helped make Cosmonarchy and, of course, Acropolis number 2 possible. Shout out to the pickup partner and to Nebline, our sponsors for that event. And I do genuinely appreciate everybody who has donated, who has provided some cash flow, who has provided some feedback, and, of course, donated their time to play this game, to actually experience what Cosmonarchy can be. GG, boys.